Hi guys, my name is Joe, and my channel is Fighting Words, the martial arts library. So this is my second attempt to to begin a new series called Media Fight Mondays, where I'm going to be taking a look at a fight scene from movies, TV shows, and animated features, and maybe some other stuff, we'll see. But I'm going to be breaking down the action, giving a little bit of background information on it, and then grading it on both, I guess, realism or accuracy and also storytelling merit. So, because this is going to be debuting on July 4th, which is America's Independence Day, I decided to get mildly patriotic, and we're going to take a look at a fight scene in Captain America the Winter Soldier. Now, this fight scene was choreographed by James Young, who also did fight scenes for Captain Carter and also for Civil War. And he was also a fight coordinator on Age of Ultron and a few other features. In this movie has a lot of good fight scenes. I think the ones that get the most attention are, the elevator fight scene and the fight scene on or around the expressway. This one I've chosen because it is a nice contained fight scene. I've also chosen it because we have Batroc, who's played by former UFC welterweight champion George St-Pierre, and I think it's fun. So, the story behind this scene is that Captain America has been working with Shield, government organization, and they've infiltrated a ship at sea, and it's run by the leader of the group that's captured this ship is Batroc, who in the comics is Batroc the Leaper, who is a specialist in savate. I don't think that really gets a whole lot of play here. But anyway, he's taking out some guards and, making his way to the command center. And, oh my gosh, surprise flying sidekick. There's another sidekick. There's like a cartwheel axe kick. And another sidekick. And some more gymnastics. Superman punch, punch, kick, kick. And then Captain America whacks him. Okay. There was a lot going on in that sequence. The acrobatics are, I think, probably sort of a nod to Batroc's origin and trying to make things more comic booky. In this case, we have seen Batroc being 100% on the offensive, and Steve Rogers, Captain America, just basically backing up and defending, with the exception of creating space with his shield. Now, the comic book nerd in me wants to sort of quibble a little bit, because his shield is supposed to have some very unusual properties. It actually gets called out in Captain America Civil War, where Spider-Man goes, yeah, that thing doesn't obey the laws of physics. I wonder, assuming that it's the same shield with a different paint job, and that's what I am assuming. We've seen this thing receive impact without transferring that impact. And I think that actually comes up, spoiler alert for a movie that's from 2014. There's a scene later in the movie where Captain America escapes a building and uses his shield to sort of impact the ground before he does, and he's, slightly winded and a little bit sore, but otherwise uninjured. All that to say, I'm not sure that that initial kick would have actually knocked him back that much. Now, in the fight scene, some of the things we're seeing play out, um, George St-Pierre was sort of known for his Superman punch. It's a good punch to use after one fakes a kick. But there was a lot of kicking and punching and kicking and punching in that sequence. I think it fits right in. I just mostly think it's a nod to, like, yeah, that's his signature move. So, anyway, now we've got some separation. We see a kip up and kick, kick, punch, kick, kick. Now, some of the close cuts are making it a little bit difficult to see. All right, so a couple of knees to the body, throws him away, does some backflips. And this is where we find out that the subtitles are because they're speaking French. Hey, Captain America can speak French. Secures his shield. I like that. Takes his helmet off. I think that's more just to get Chris Evans, some face time. And now we can see the faces of both actors. So there's a feint, front kick. Ooh, he's doing a good job. Batroc landed a kick while Captain America was throwing a punch. Now, to be honest, I gotta think, Captain America's probably pulling his strikes. The reason I say that is that across the MCU we get feats of strength. Like he bent, an iron bar in the first Avenger. In Age of Ultron, we see him like literally just rip a log in half. I can't remember whether it was in this movie or another, but at some point he's like bicep curling a helicopter to keep it from taking off. And you're more than human if you can do that. So, if he just wanted to turn Batroc's insides into pulp or cause a major skull fracture, he could probably just hit him once. So again, I think he's probably pulling his strikes. I like the fact that they're both wearing boots. So that's going to make any strikes with the toe of the shoe have more impact. So there's another kick, more gymnastics. And Batroc's getting to his feet. Goes for a tackle and then knocks him out with a punch. Now, I think that last sequence was more done as a way to transition, because we're getting into a scene where, good upstanding Captain America walks in on super spy Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, going through some computer stuff. And I think they needed a way to get him into that room unexpectedly. Because Batroc wasn't winning that fight. He got in a couple of shots, but they were having minimal effect. He's getting knocked around, tossed around. The ending of that fight scene, again, if the goal of Captain America is to take out Batroc, he didn't need to ram him through a door and then knock him out with a punch on the ground. I do think that that's interesting. I think that that's a nice, whether intentional or not, I think it's a nice little nod to the fact that George St-Pierre is a mixed martial arts fighter and won a lot of his fights with sustained ground and pound, ground strikes. George St-Pierre's martial arts background is, he started with Kyokushin, and, we see its influence in some of his fights. It then, went to some of the best guys in the world and trained with them in Muay Thai and boxing and wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We don't see a whole lot here besides kicks and punches and some flippy stuff, which 99% sure that's a stunt man. I should have looked up who the stunt performers were. Captain America's style in the comics was originally supposed to be based on boxing, judo, and gymnastics, which is about as advanced as you're going to get in the 1940s. If we assume that this universe of Steve Rogers went through that, he probably also got some hand-to-hand training through the OSS. You could argue that his stop kick to Batroc's leg. Batroc went for a kick and Rogers stomped on his leg. That might be an influence of that style. Maybe some of the knee strikes. We're not seeing a whole lot there. I think you can say that uh, Steve Rogers in this universe is able to pick up on physical skills very easily. Like with no apparent training, he takes a circular disc and is able to use it as a super frisbee weapon, right? And a skinny guy in Brooklyn who can't fight because he's too skinny winds up being an excellent hand-to-hand combatant later on. So I would assume he's thawed out of the ice in the early 21st century. He probably picks up on, gets taught things like maybe some Krav Maga, some, modern army combatives, some Muay Thai. I'd be surprised if he wasn't, taught that stuff and picked it up very early on. When we're looking at sequences like this, it's sort of I've seen other YouTube channels that are really fun to watch try to break down like all the styles this you know superhero knows and all the styles this superhero knows. Kicks are kicks, you know. Uh, we can try to make distinctions, but at the end of the day, a snap kick is found across several different martial arts. A round kick is found across several different martial arts. Knee strikes, straight punches, hook punches. um, so I'm not gonna like try to pinpoint like, oh, that move is clearly from this martial art. There's just way too many commonalities, too many crossovers. The interesting thing that both of them do are kicks out of gymnastics moves. And they seem a little bit distinct from capoeira. Maybe Batroc's initial, flip into an axe kick might be. Captain America's, it looked like an aerial cartwheel, which I know is common in wushu, but I don't think is used as a striking technique there. Um, Considering his feats of strength, using his own momentum in a kick in an aerial cartwheel in order to get a kick out of at the end of the move might have actually been taking it easy, because that is going to depend more on things like momentum and gravity as opposed to the muscular strength of his hips and quadriceps and all that. Um, it's a nice fancy move. Again, I think if his objective had been let me take out this guy as quickly as possible, there are other options he could have gone to, and we have seen that even earlier in this movie, earlier in this scene. Um, so as far as like action goes, I'm going to go ahead and give this, let's say A minus. Um, except for the flippy stuff, I think it was, fairly grounded, even in a world where you have, high-tech suits and literal Norse gods. Um, the I would take a little bit off of that again, mostly for the flippy stuff, but also based on Steve Rogers' um, shows of strength throughout this. He must have been pulling his punches, because if this was like displaying, Captain America trying to take this guy out, I think it would have been a much shorter fight. But as far as like, the kicks and punches go, I think they were mostly done very smoothly, even with some of the quicker cuts, for the close-ups. I think you can more or less see the action that's going on. Um, I think this plays into George St-Pierre's background. You see a lot of karate style kicks, a little bit of Muay Thai style kicks, and the Superman punch, which again was a nice touch. Um, you know, the only thing that doesn't make sense from a tactical standpoint, why did he tackle him through the wall or through the door? Um, Again, there was no purpose behind that. If his goal is to end this fight as quickly as possible, there were other things that I think he could have gone to. But other than that, I would say within the realm of Marvel, pretty realistic and grounded for what it is. As far as the storytelling goes, does this advance the story at all? I don't really think so. The most important story point actually happens at the end here, where, after the fight, Steve Rogers catches Black Widow, doing some super secret spy stuff. That'll come back later. Um, I think it shows how well Captain America does against like a high level combatant in unarmed combat, even without the use of a shield. I don't think you need this sequence for that, though. It's nice. I enjoy it. That's why I decided to do it. But the other sequences we have, does this really build a story up to that point? And especially if you've seen the other movies, do you need to buy the idea that Steve Rogers is a skilled hand-to-hand combatant? Do you need an entire fight sequence to show that? Especially when Batroc himself really doesn't get much of a lead up, and we don't see him again anymore in this movie. You've beaten a guy who's apparently more skilled than your average henchman. Okay, so um, so as far as the storytelling stuff goes, um, let's say C minus. You know, um, I think the most important story that this sequence told is, again, Steve Rogers is a skilled hand-to-hand combatant. I also think that it's a little bit redundant or unnecessary. Um, there aren't any callbacks to any of this anywhere else in the movie. Again, except maybe, look, he can fight without a shield. Okay, but yeah. Overall, though, again, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the fights in this movie. This was a really good movie. So again, credit to James Young for being the choreographer. He was also, by the way, a stunt double for Sebastian Stan. So when we see some Winter Soldier sequences later on in the movie, he's the fight coordinator is actually taking on that role. So anyway, that's all I have for this week, and keep an eye open for some new Media Fight Mondays coming up. The objective is to do them twice a month. And that's all I got for you in the U.S. Enjoy your Independence Day.